Yeah, it definitely is a tough call, but now it looks like we're going to get into Champion Select, so we're going to send it over to the casters to take us into game.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Team One Esports versus Direwolves, 5th game of the day. And for Team One, it's do or die. You beat the Direwolves here, you then go into a tiebreaker against them at the end of the day to see who gets that second spot. If you lose, you're out.
Yeah, very important game to be had for both of these teams. Direwolves, they need to win it for Oceania, but Team One, I mean, no one expected a lot from them, but now is the time that they prove everybody wrong and show they still have what it takes to compete on this stage, and that they deserve being here in the first seed.
And one thing that I am going to be wondering about for this team, they had a rough game against Cloud9 to start this day off.
Yeah.
It was not a close match. It was not a match that the team would feel very good walking away from, but we've talked about teams losing mentalities, especially for the teams that have had a rough opening to play in stage here at Worlds 2017. And for Team One, you've got to be able to hunker down, put yourself in that right mental state, and be ready to go up against the Direwolves and potentially give yourself that last shot at redemption in the tiebreaker. So far, they picked themselves the Tristana. Direwolves responds with Jarvan and Varus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not be tilted is the fair way to come into this game. They brought in Marth, and you're like, maybe things have changed. Maybe the aggressive mid laners are not. No, they just lost very hard. But so coming into this one against Fantix, I mean, maybe Marth still has the ability to showcase his strength. But we do have to talk about the draft that's smashing its way through very quickly. Things have changed for the side of the Direwolves. They banned a lot of AD carries, but they still gave Tristana very consciously, it seems, for the bottom lane they've constructed for themselves.
Yep, they're going to pick up that Tristana. Team One also with the Sejuani and the Braum. And we'll see Morgana drafted over to the side of the Direwolves as the last pick of the first half of this draft going into that second phase of the bans.
Yeah, they picked their bottom lane in the first 3 picks. They've got the flex of the J4, so as far as I'm concerned, Direwolves, I mean, it's sound. We know the Morgana works. We saw a standout performance from Destiny last time against Team One Esports, so far so good, you'd say, from them. On the side of Team One, the Tristana Braum, just a really good 2v2. Very sound, but very hard to stun someone against a Morgana, so it's more about the damage that they can put out.
Going into this second part of the bans, Direwolves focusing on that split push win condition that Team One likes to utilize, taking the Shen off the table. You can see them also having got rid of that Olaf in the first part of the bans, keeping that one away from Forlan.
Yeah, and the other one is the Mundo and the Trundle are the 2 big bans that you often see away from Vert through the top lane alongside that Shen, but they only have 1 ban space for one of them. And the question is, will they go for one at all? Because Chippy's big carry player may actually want a Mundo to be his opponent.
Yeah, pick the Mundo and then you can deal with whatever you want to take into that. Maokai banned away by the Direwolves. Just not really as much of a split pusher with that one, but just a massive team fighter. Tons of CC comes out from him, a real playmaker, and they don't want that falling into the hands of Team One Esports. Gnar banned away by Team One. They don't want Chippies being able to have that. They'll also take Orianna off the table, wanting to keep that one away from Fantix.
Denying the J4 Orianna combo, of course.
Yeah.
Very much a strong combo, can win games outright. But by taking away the Orianna, you leave open Corki to be seen from the side of Fantix.
That would be an interesting world. You ban the Orianna and Orianna's open. We'd have a bit of a problem in Champion Select, but with Corki locked in, that is a lot of magic damage coming in from range.
Yeah, it certainly is. So they've got 2 big carries. They've got the Morgana, the J4. To round out the composition, perhaps a jungler might be what we see from the side of the Direwolves. Something that's a little bit tankier or can help engage would be pretty strong.
Well, it's going to be Cassiopeia on the side of Team One, taking that into the mid lane against the Corki. Lots of sustained damage from both mid laners in these compositions. You're not seeing anything that just bursts you all at once and then doesn't really have a lot left to offer. Cassiopeia, we know that she has a ridiculous amount of sustained damage with the Twin Fang, and Corki's just an AD carry that happens to do magic damage.
Yeah, until we get to 3 items, Corki's not going to be blasting anybody just yet, and especially with the last lock-ins that we saw of a Cass and a Galio. Super tanks, 4 of the members. Of course, Abyssal Mask is a way you can go for Marth, which is why I say tank. And one thing we do have to mention is Marth is the Cass player of the Brazilian players that go in the mid lane. Brewster doesn't play it. He's known to pick up that Cass for himself. If they swap.
If they swap, exactly. We could see top lane Cassiopeia cheese. Maybe that's exactly how they want to find their 1 win, but it's not going to be. We talk about cheese just on the 1% off chance that they do decide to lock it in, but that's not the choice today. Instead, it will be Vert on that Galio. Not that much of a split push champion, and I'm really going to be watching him this game, Rusty, because we got to see a very nice Galio from Seiya last game. I want to see if Vert can do this.
Expectations are very high for him if we're going to compare him to Seiya, but Direwolves on the red side of the Rift get the counter pick. They choose top lane. They pick Fiora into Galio, a matchup that we saw mid lane through CLG, I believe it was, trying to counter it out. And I mean, that's a top lane split pusher now, so probably a better lane for the Fiora to be in that matchup for Direwolves. They set themselves up for success.
And this, you said, this is what you want to see from Chippies, right? This is the kind of champion that Chippies is able to win games with. These carries in the top lane. I can't think of a much bigger carry from the top lane than a Fiora.
And they don't blind pick the Trundle, they don't blind pick the Mundo, they don't pick something for Vert that might get countered, but they still give him the Galio that won't win this lane outright. However, it does still have a lot of push, a lot of early control, and the ability to allow their jungler Forlan to come through and perhaps impact the Rift.
Loading into this game, ladies and gentlemen, remember what's on the line. Direwolves win here. They're moving on to the knockout stage. Team 1 wins here. Well, at the end of the day, they will then be playing another match against Direwolves, and the winner of that match will move on to the knockout stage instead. So Team 1, this is potentially the first step they have to take to making sure their world's journey is not cut short here today. Teams are out of the summoning platform, out onto the Rift. Where are we expecting to see the action early on here, Rusty?
I mean, you can look towards many areas on Summoner's Rift where action could break out, but when you're against the Direwolves, you know it's through the jungler. And in our Schönfire, of course, he's going to be the one that tries to impact the Rift. Right now, though, we've got something cute going on towards the Galio. They've pinged exactly where he is. Morgana's range is about vision range. This is going to be a big reach.
If they come up behind him...
Oh my god, they are.
They're going all the way behind him with the Morgana binding.
I think they've done some VODs here.
King wants to turn around and make sure that he comes around from the other side. The flag goes through, the binding finds its way on the route down onto Vert. He'll want to get himself over the wall if he can, but he just can't do it. And Schönfire, not in the way we expected, but he does find first blood.
Nailed it, just not the way I expected either.
Still counts.
He gets the first kill. That's 400 gold going to the jungler. He's recalled. He's got both jungle items. He is well equipped through the early stages of this game. And if this isn't I've done my research against one, I don't know what is. A very clever play from the Direwolves, skirting around Vision King. Maybe he's the odd one out here. Was hesitant, but the binding connects, and that's all that matters in the end.
Exactly how they needed it to play out. You can see Vert gets over there, and he just knows there's no point in wasting the flash. You're dead either way, so you just save it. And not the start they needed to get for themselves as a jungler. It feels so, so good to have both those jungle items early on. Your clear is so incredibly safe. It's very, very quick. And that's going to put Schönfire in an awesome spot to do what you talked about, where he can be that playmaker, get involved in the lanes, and get these guys ahead.
Just that little bit extra experience as well for all of them. A bit of extra money towards the bottom lane. Perhaps that's an extra potion on a recall if they're forced to fight each other and back earlier. And with a Morgana and a Varus playing against a Tristana Braum, there is a very real chance that fights break out every time a binding connects or every single time Braum hits a Q. The auto attacks that will ensue mean that there's a lot of fighting to be had down there. Same thing applies top lane. Of course, Chippies doesn't necessarily control minions, though he is now due to the first blood. But he also has kill threat, so he will be fighting and trading health actively.
Trying to go for that vital on Vert, just barely missing out on it. Doesn't quite get far south enough to be considered in the correct angle to proc that one. But one player I'm going to be watching a lot this game, because I think he has a ton of agency up against the enemy team, is Destiny on this Morgana. With those black shields, you can stop a lot of what Forlan and Marth and Vert and even Redbird are trying to do with these CCs, and proper timing and placement of those black shields I think will be huge.
I think frankly he is the game changer regarding exactly that. Who he uses the black shield on, when he's using it, and what it's for is going to be something that we do look towards Destiny. So I agree, I'm going to be highlighting him just as much as yourself, as this is a dive top lane from the looks of it.
Oh, this could go very well or very poorly. A lot of damage down on Vert here now. The stun comes through. Schönfire getting himself the kill, but he drops in the process the flash a bit too late.
And that's really unfortunate for Schönfire having the flash late. I think the taunt from Vert was enough to secure that one. So he actually gets a trade. He'll be happy for it, but you have to look at what he's missing throughout all of this as well. The minions crashing, the teleport force. Schönfire does lose double buffs, but he still gets the Balmy Cinder because he collects the kill.
Forlan hanging out on the bottom side of the enemy jungle. Drops a ward down there to sort of keep an eye in case Schönfire decides to come towards this part of the map. Black shield down onto King. Explosive charge finds its way into some more damage as he loses about half his health overall. Direwolves breaking even across the board in terms of farm with a slight edge here in the top lane, but you would hope there was a slight edge considering how many minions collided into the turret of Vert as he died. He was only able to go back and buy himself a cloth armor and ruby crystal as well. Not the most convincing buy. A couple of long swords there for Chippies. Continue to build that damage up.
But he didn't go mana crystal, so I'm happy about
We're happy that we at least don't have the mana crystal for nothing start again.
Exactly. So, I mean, he's got items. They're not great items. He's against the Fiora, who, to be fair, doesn't have a lot himself. Chippy's just with the 2 long swords. And teleports have been used by both of them respectively. You want a Galio to get around the rift and impact everywhere, but we all know that that's just a fleeting hope and never going to happen just because of this lane matchup.
Good job interrupting the second part of the Justice Punch there. A lot of players have learned to do that against Galio, where you walk up during his dashing backwards animation to make it so he can't complete the second part of that dash forwards. Good job, good awareness there from Chippies, making sure he positions himself between his opponent and the desired direction of escape. As bottom side, the Direwolves hanging backwards. Absolute just jumping absolutely forward to find as much damage as possible. These guys know that they have got to flex those muscles this game. King takes another auto attack on the way out. And honestly, that trade doesn't go that well for Team One Esports.
I admire the aggression nonetheless from watching them jump forwards towards each other just to trade, knowing that they didn't have one cooldown. So aggressive, successful because it wasn't negative, and they're able to trade equally. We also have to point out again, it's the Ardent Sensor for the bottom lane of King and Destiny against the Ignite of Redbird. This early into the game when there's no Ardent Sensor, the Ignite does have kill threat if you're able to play it out accordingly. So they're playing aggressive, trying to use that Summoner spell perhaps, which is why they're always going forwards, because it does damage.
And you also, if you're Team One, want to find some kind of a gold lead somewhere, because since you're a non-coin support item versus a coin support, you're going to have less money. The coin just earns you more gold. So as this game goes on, the support is going to be outclassed. Redbird is going to be outclassed by the economy of Destiny simply because of the choices that they've made. But if they can get the kill, it'll all pay off. If they can get themselves in a spot where they're just owning this lane. But for now, King and Destiny are sitting comfortably, honestly.
And they're just holding on, which is, again, what the Direwolves bottom lane is expected to do. But you look towards Absolute, more so than just a go equal in lane type of guy. He wants to push the turret down. He wants to control the 2v2 lane, and actually wants to be a hard carry for the side of Team One, which is something that he has been throughout the regular season alongside Redbird as they support him. So far in the tournament, you haven't really seen the makings of that at all, but this is a good opportunity for him. He's got the Tristana. He's against a team that likes to play passively, just be a utility bottom lane. He can carry.
And he needs to. And so does Marth. They only have 2 damage dealers on the side of Team One. You've got 2 damage dealers and 3 big meatballs in the front. Those meatballs aren't going to run over people on their own. The Cassiopeia and the Tristana will both need to be relevant in order for them to stand a chance against the Direwolves in these larger fights, when the Direwolves do have more damage threats. You've got a Jarvan who, although he will likely be building mostly tank, still has some burst threat onto a squishy target. You've got a Fiora who is Fiora, can do percent HP.
There's a lot of carries and a lot of
always going to be a damage threat.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of carries on the side of Direwolves. That's absolutely true. If we're going to compare, there's a lot of tanks for Team One in comparison, but ultimately, tanks that get ahead tend to stay ahead, and they tend to do damage. So Team One, the early game, as you mentioned, actually maybe even more important than we first realized.
Redbird and Forland really wanting to make a play here. They do find the Glacial Prison coming down. The miasma not quite in place in time to keep Fantic there. Good flash away. Vert trying to get underneath the turret, still make the kill come through, but it's a bit audacious as Team One commits a lot of resources for only a flash.
That was a big commitment from Vert. He doesn't use the ultimate. He doesn't go towards his teammates that are engaging. Instead, he chooses to flash over the wall and dash into the turret. So he takes a lot of his health in damage, and Chippies is just freely farming the top side. What I will say is that was a really good use of teleport timings and exploiting that fact for the Brazilian roster, knowing that Chippies didn't have his just yet. Things are starting to change now.
Chippies takes a lot of damage from the turret there. He does a good job riposting the Justice Punch, but the problem is with riposte, for anybody who doesn't know, it doesn't block turret shots.
No, it does not.
The one thing in the game that it doesn't make you immune to. So when you're doing the riposte underneath the turret when you've already drawn the aggro, you are still going to take quite a lot of damage, which puts Chippies where he is right now. A little bit under half HP. Vert continuing to trade with him here. A grand challenge has been issued. Very nice riposte stun.
Oh, he's got it.
Vert with the outplay, however.
Chippies had his flash available, but he's not going to be able to do it. One turret shot is all it takes to outplay your opponent here. Vert, MVP turret is Schönfire.
Schönfire potentially getting caught out as the enemy invades his jungle, and honestly, Vert with the Bramble Vest, big pickup against Fiora as well, stops a lot of the healing. Remember that Lunge procs the own hit effects, meaning it procs the grievous wounds, so you don't get as much healing from your vitals.
Yeah, certainly true. And of course, by rushing the Vamp Scepter, which was the first item of Chippy's, doesn't go as planned. This was a nice riposte. He goes for it, but from there was already no chance of a kill, to be honest with you, once all the cooldowns were there for Vert. He was against the wall. The one vital that he needed was never going to be connected and hit at all, but he still commits to the kill. He thought he had enough damage from just the 3 vitals and an auto attack reset. He gets knocked up, tanks the turret, he goes down.
It was well played by Vert. You've got to hug that wall. You've got to make sure you protect yourself from the healing from the Fiora ultimate, and he did just that. Chippy's now 0-1 and 2 on this Fiora, still with a CS lead for himself. You can see Vert, after the Bramble Vest, not going all the way for a Thorn Mail or anything like that, instead going to be opting for that Righteous Glory. Wants to be a team fighter this game. Normally we see this guy on split push duty, but this time around, you have to switch things up a little bit as Team 1 moving towards that first Infernal Drake, and they'll grab it right as the clock crests 10 minutes. That was a bit of a tongue twister, but we got through it anyway, and that means they got bonus damage on this team, which could be useful, like you said, if this team gets ahead with the tanks, how the tanks can do damage with a lead. Could be the difference between getting the burst they need onto the value targets or not.
Unfortunately, whilst they are doing well, getting kills, starting to match what the Direwolves have, they are by no means close to ahead, even just through the gold difference that has started to stretch out through CSing and laning.
Oh no, Forlan taking a lot of damage if he sticks around. Manages to dash himself over the wall and avoid most of that. Fantix with package up and ready. You've always got to play respectfully against the Corki when that package is available to cast. We know how much playmaking is possible if you find the opportunity to use that one. So Team 1 will just be playing off the back foot until it expires.
And that's what the Direwolves were doing as well. Of course, by having the package, they bring Schönfire towards the bottom lane. They clear vision to give him a clear path into the enemy jungle, knowing that Forlan was nearby. In fact, even stopping the recall of the Sejuani. It's a good play. They're able to slow down any kind of tempo that one were looking towards. And now maybe moving towards the Rift Herald or something of the likes, as there's no Drake objective to be seen.
Fantix continuing to farm himself up very effectively here in the mid lane.
No.
I don't think you can.
He's spending a lot of time just hovering near the Raptors. There was a ward placed by Cassiopeia, but I believe just at the end there that would definitely deter it.
Fantix has 20 CS up over his opponent. At 11.5 minutes into the game, he's at 116 farm. The man knows how to make sure his economy is topped off.
Let's just say I first casted Fantix back in 2015 in the second half of the split, back when taking Raptors was normal. He knows how to farm.
Nice escape there, utilizing the Valkyrie to get just barely out of the range of Glacial Prison in time. Means Forlan's gank is not going to be effective, and also with that ultimate down, the rest of the Direwolves means that they can breathe a little bit easier for the next 90 seconds or so without the threat of that coming in.
Yeah, certainly right, and all of the lane control that Fantix has had to give him those CS advantages, the timing of that was fantastic. Funnily enough, Marth recalls, comes back to lane. Well, he doesn't have the Rod of Ages just yet. He's close to the amount of gold needed, and perhaps the kill tipped him over the line, but it wasn't going to be seen. Fantix will get his blue buff, has the teleport, has a bit of extra tempo. That was a good play from Team 1 when you look at it. The flash isn't there for the Corki. It's not far off being up, but they have that timed. They attack him at the correct moment. Because that didn't go as planned, suddenly the Direwolves get to bounce back.
Ardent Sensor now completed for Destiny as well. Exactly what you want to see if you're king. That does so much for your AD carry, making sure that he has both the extra damage and the sustain in these fights. And
doesn't have his item spike though, unfortunately, at this time. You have to compare that to the Infinity Edge. He's going towards the Guinsoo's Rageblade, I believe, here on the Varus build. I love this build personally. I think that Guinsoo's Rageblade is just great, and an Ardent Sensor to empower it means he does so much damage early, but he's not strong just yet.
Right, that item is very, very pricey, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer to get that online, especially when you go for the Berserker Greaves first. That's the difference in the builds here.
Yeah.
One has the tier 2 boots, the other has no boots at all. So it delays that just ever so slightly. Always got to be aware of exactly what's in your opponent's inventory and where those power spikes are, Ardent Sensor or not.
And that's interesting as well. It doesn't go towards the boot, straight into the Infinity Edge, which is granted a lot of damage, but he's with a Braum that is going to be very reliant on hitting those slows so that they can get the stuns. But when Absolute is so slow, is he going to be able to even get 4 auto attacks off? Or are they just going to walk away?
Looks like right now they're going to be settling with walking away on this one. Content with farming up. And we know that Tristana will scale into this hyper carry beast as the game goes on. You've got the range, you've got the damage, you've got the attack speed steroid. but it's all about getting there. They've got plenty big of a front line to keep them protected, but there will be a lot of CC on the side of the Direwolves.
Now, this is still a really big window of opportunity, rather, for Team 1. Galio's got the items. They're engaging.
All right, here we go. Direwolves looking to find the fight here onto the bottom lane. Absolute going to be taken down before anything else goes out here. Double kill over onto the AD carry from Direwolves, as now they're going to be chasing down the remaining members of Team 1. Destiny looking to maybe find a binding. Forlan getting himself away in time, and that was way, way too ham from Team 1's AD carry.
Both teams wanted to make the exact same play at the exact same time, and now Marf is caught.
Trying to use the petrifying gaze, but he's not able to find the petrifying part of it. He's got the teammates nearby to potentially still find the kill, and they do. They grab the return damage against their opponents. Marf grabbing the kill credit for that one as the Direwolves continue to push up the bottom side now, both bot lane and top.
Trouble here.
Remember, the Chippies does have the ultimate. He has the blue buff as well. No ultimate available onto the Cassiopeia. Pops off the repose, trying to keep himself alive. Binding comes through.
Chippy.
Marf gets taken down. Chippies with the damage, but now he's in a 2 versus 3. Schernfire showing up, trying to even this fight out. Destiny tries to keep him alive with the black shield so he can get away from the CC in time. Redbert fires off the winner's bite, doesn't find anybody with it just yet. Chippy's still trying to get away on this one.
Oh, he's out.
Tagged up, wants to take the blast cone, and Meme Plant to the rescue. He escapes.
And that looks like a really bad position for the Direwolves, but they're able to get themselves out with just King going down ultimately in the end. We get to see the fight that precursors all of this in the first place. King finds Redbert. Redbert has no health, but he also has Forlan coming and Marf. However, they did not know Schernfire was going to be there that quickly because both teams were making the exact same play. Fantix, Chippies, they teleport to the same ward. They were ready to go. Both teams were ready to react at the exact same moment, but one team has an extra teleport. So the fight happens. The second fight breaks out. King's going to have to be the sacrificial lamb from this. After a good riposte from Chippies, they still trade. Somehow in a situation where they had no right to do so. And then Chippies is able to actually get himself out alive.
Yep, walks out thanks to the black shield. Otherwise, that Winter's Bite would have sealed his fate. Or he would have just sidestepped it anyway.
Yep, even dodges it.
He even dodges it. Chippies with the moves, making sure he can help the team get the victory here, cement themselves in second place as Team 1 moves over to the Infernal Drake for the second time this game. Direwolves not wanting to give this one away, but they'll have to settle with doing that anyway. Vert now on the front line, exactly where you want your Galio to be, able to find the taunt onto 2. There
King.
Comes your lockdown onto King, bursting him down. Team 1's able to find the AD carry. Now can they look for more? Schernfire barely hobbling away from this one, but that's a big victory for 1.
Yeah, not just the AD carry, the Drake's going to be theirs as well. It looks like the next Drake's also going to be an Infernal.
This is my kind of game.
This game's going to get hot.
I love watching triple Infernal games. There's so much to fight over, and even once the fighting is done, you still want to keep fighting because you've got more damage now. Team 1 with 2 of those under their belts means that they are going to be very scary if this game gets to late game with a multi-Infernal enchanted Cassiopeia and Tristana. But one thing I'm a bit worried about, Rusty, is Absolute has shown a complete disregard for his own safety so far this game. And if he has one of those types of moments as this game goes on and as we get towards the end game, that could be a disaster for his team. He's got to make sure he's minding that position.
It seems like Absolute's got his goals, and he's aptly named given how he goes towards those goals. Like, they are a definite. Like, he has to have those. And it seems like in this one, it's going forwards. He has to jump forwards. He has to try and find the damage and get the kills. And he's against the Morgana Varus that can lock him down. A Fiora that can 100% kill him. And with these reckless jumps forwards, they've been working so far. I mean, he's only died once. Maybe things start to change. The real question that we have, though, is the Herald's going to go down. Is Chippies is also a big win condition that's starting to find those kills, starting to get those items. Galio can only hold on for so long.
Righteous Glory is not much of a 1 versus 1 item. It's an amazing setup item. It's an amazing initiation item, team fight item. It's great at all those, but surviving against a Fiora 1 versus 1 is not really in the wheelhouse for Righteous Glory. So hopefully for Vert, he can get some more tankability coming in soon. Speaking of tankability, you'll see the Knight's Vow done soon on Schernfire, which means that much more tankiness for both himself and whoever he decides to attach that to, whether it's Fantix or King.
They're about to find Destiny.
Destiny base checking into the Tri-Brush here, starts to take a lot of damage. Absolute Forlan closing in on this one too. Schernfire trying to walk his ally out. He's the one who gets stunned, and they should be able to bring him down here. Absolute grabbing the kill credit.
Yeah, they lock it up. So bit of disrespect from Direwolves walking towards the top lane through the Tri-Bush. no vision there, and suddenly the kills do go down. They've got blue trinkets. Unfortunately, it's not going to save the structure. So Team 1, they bounce it back. It was a 4K gold lead. That's shrinking even more.
Gonna be down to just about 2K after they grab this tier 1 turret, even up that turret count. Remember, they're still in charge of Drake's 2-0. They're up in kills 1. But they're still down in gold overall, largely to the fact that they're losing the farm pretty heavily in both solo lanes. Bottom lane and jungle very, very even.
I think fundamentally it's just because Team 1 have really asserted themselves as we're trying to play like a team. And it is working, granted. They've got that extra kill. They're starting to get turrets. They're making picks. And they're doing all of these things well. It's just that they're losing the laning as a result of it. They've got a Fiora counter in the top lane. That's probably a CS difference you would expect. But Corki into the Cassiopeia mid lane as well. He's walking to places where teleports get him there quicker. Fantix just has that one extra wave. He's just controlling that mid lane, even against the hill with a teleport of his own. And the teleport tempo gives you maybe 6 CS to 7 CS in advantage. Not a number this large.
34,000 to 32,000 gold. Direwolves still with an edge, but we want to see patience from this team. We want to see the proper channels being moved through as they walk through their own parts of the jungle. We want to make sure that people aren't face-checking every time if we expect Direwolves to show up as a capable team on the international stage. You've got to show respect to your opponents and not give away the free kills like we saw them do up there in the top side. See what they can do now with the blue buff here on the Corki. Forland jumping in, gonna be rooted up. Nice binding coming out from Destiny. Will they continue to take this one forward? Stun up, out onto Schernfire. He's gonna be in some trouble here. Flashes himself away. Fantix caught on the other side of the miasma. Valkyrie's over the wall to stay safe. Righteous Glory used by Vert at the end of the fight as well.
And everyone just walks it out. Of course, we've got a lot of damage. Teleport from Chippies was cancelled as he's looking towards committing in the bottom lane. This means that Team 1, hard attack mid. They're trying to make something be an advantage for themselves, but now they have to bring Galio down towards the bottom lane. You'd feel like from this point, things subside. A good look, good eye-in of an opportunity, but with the amount of things that missed from the Brazilian roster, Direwolves were like, we'll take this opportunity and turn it around, and suddenly realize that maybe that wasn't the best idea after all, and it subsides.
Chippy's coming in maybe for a flank. TP channeled. Fantix wanting to come in here. Petrifying Gaze comes out, but Marf is going to be caught between a rock, a hard place, and a Fiora. Goes down to Chippy's. Marf grabbing the kill onto King in retaliation, though. It's 1-for-1, but the mid lane turret falls.
Yeah, the turret's going to drop. They've got the package. They've got the ability to set up now for what is going to be the third Infernal Drake of the game. Marf completely caught out of position. Somewhere he may not have wanted to be, but you have to commend the Direwolves in how they caught him out of position. Firstly, Destiny using the Black Shield on Schernfire, who ults as the Cassiopeia ult, so no chance of locking him down. He's going to instead lock the cast down. Herald was kind of just used.
I think it must have been about to expire, because I don't really see a world where you would use it like that otherwise, but if he's going to run out anyway, you might as well summon him, see if maybe you can get one headbutt off onto the mid lane turret. Sadly, they don't.
I mean, I can tell you the best case scenario in that situation is Schernfire recalls and summons it for top lane whilst he's in base, and then tries to actually go straight to the Drake, which is up in 15 seconds.
And remember, it is Infernal.
Yeah.
The saddest part about this is no more Infernal Drakes can spawn after this one, but for Direwolves, they need to be in position for this. They cannot afford to allow their opponents to have a 3-0 Infernal Drake.
Forland's in position.
Forland may be able to steal this one away. Jumps over the wall into the pit. How's it going to go? Nope, it's secured by the Direwolves. Forland, the first casualty in the fight as well. Redbird wanting to go over the wall, uses the flash to do so. Direwolves, 7-7 in kills now. 1-2 in Infernal Drakes feels so much better than 3-0.
And I respect that from Forland, but we're at 22 minutes in this game. Baron exists on the Rift, and the jungler has just thrown themselves into the pit to try and secure that third Infernal Drake. If he got it, perhaps it was worth, but with this risk now going to exist, I don't know if that was worth it, because Direwolves, they've kicked it off.
Jungler dead, support injured, and without ulti. Team 1 being forced to answer the Direwolves here now as Redbird gets himself out. Baron still at 3/4 HP, so the Direwolves not doing this one very quickly, losing a lot of health, honestly, onto both Schernfire and King. Winds of War come out from Vert, who's going to be dunked now by Schernfire. Already used the flash, not going to be able to get away from this one, except for the heroic exit that gets him to safety.
And that's a big win from Team 1. They get the mid lane turret while they're going. He exits in the correct direction. No Baron to be seen. It was a big bait from the Direwolves. They never actually wanted the objective as Forland. He's stopping recalls, but I'm not sure if he wants that.
Stopping weak recalls, just charging head first into the enemy team. Fantix Very low on mana here. Glacial Prison coming down, managed to find its way onto him. Black Shield to protect Fantix a little bit longer. Redbird wanted to jump in as well. Nice binding onto Absolute. King barely walking away from this one, but I don't know how much longer he will be. Redbird grabbing the kill. Christmas present of death from that Winter's Bite.
And Chippies is going to get back to base. He does have the teleport, but now the Baron control in that area of the map comes back to Team oNe Esports, who will look to, I wouldn't say do it just yet, but control the river. And saying that, they've got 4 tanks. I can't constitute Fallen as one right now, but they have him.
No, he's got about enough health to be maybe half a Tristana.
He's a plastic tank.
Yeah, Absolute. Going in onto Destiny, forces him to run away. He won't chase that one any further. Happy with the Morgana just popping the flash and nearly being dead. And now it's Team one's turn to start up the Baron. Direwolves did it earlier. They didn't do it correctly. This time it's Team one who want to try to find this major objective for themselves. We talked about the high DPS of both mid laners. Marv going to be taken very, very low. Fantix in a great position with that Black Shield to put a lot of damage into everybody on the Team one lineup. And their Baron attempt goes about as successfully as the Wolves did before.
And we're doing the tango around the Baron pit right now. The Purple Worm seems to be the most enticing thing on Summoner's Rift, but it's also about the fights for the Baron. And right now, no one's winning those fights, so the Baron isn't free. In fact, he's doing too much damage, and so everyone just has to ease up that little bit more. And we're going to start to see a setup, you'd have to imagine, from this point onwards. There's no teleports for Direwolves. They have to control side lanes. We have to slow down.
Baron is one of those things that can either carry the game and blow everything wide open for you, or it can just be a big purple throw machine. And so far, it's leaning more towards the latter. If everybody in this game can just take a second, take a deep breath, and reassess where they need to be, we might be able to see some more coherent Baron takes as it goes on. But for right now, both these teams just looking for some kind of a way to get themselves that lead. Direwolves still up about 3,000 gold. 25 minutes into the game. Down 1 kill, though. Turret's dead even. No tier 2s taken yet, but all tier 1s dead across the board. Surenfire in a little bit of danger here, but Black Shield keeping him away from the CC, and there's that agency we were talking about for Destiny. Being in the right place at the right time with the right shield means you can keep people alive. But now Chippies, the man in trouble. The CC coming down. The damage comes in from both Marf and Absolute. That Fiora is not getting away today.
No, not at all. Of course, they're pushing the bottom lane at the same time. Direwolves, they've got more than one agenda here. But one with the pick, with the kill on the Chippies, of course they're going to start off this Baron. The question is, can they stop it? Chippies has, Fantix has teleport, but he's pushing.
Fantix still pushing in that bottom lane, not using the TP yet. Now coming in, King throws the ulti into the pit. Baron is very low. Surenfire goes into the pit. It's secured by Absolute. And Surenfire ends up giving away his life for the try. Fantix now escaping from Vert, who utilizes his own TP to make it there to disrupt the Direwolves' attempt. Team one finally secures that Baron.
And it all starts because they get the pick again. This is the third pick we've seen revolving around the Baron area. This one's successful and well-timed. There's a lot of health still there for the one roster. And Chippies just out of position. Doesn't have the vision to be where he was. Walks through greedy pathing. One get the Baron, one pushing lanes. And they're starting to scale and snowball. Those two carries will be doing a lot of damage.
Black Shield onto King so he can stay on the front line without worrying about the CC. Package delivery from Fantix. Valkyrie right back into the middle of 3 people. They grab the kill into Redbird, but they trade their mid laner for it. Now Absolute having to run away from Chippies, who has the grand challenge down, but he's going to be knocked away by the ulti. A double kill for Absolute.
Absolute plays that fantastically. Even the riposte that was baited, Chippies thought he was going to ult him back to safety, but by wasting that again, the second mistake in 2 minutes for the Fiora, they don't get more kills for their troubles. Fantix, I think he was expecting a Black Shield, but it was already used.
Yeah, it got used 4 seconds beforehand.
Just a Valkyrie in. It was the Valkyrie after the package Valkyrie into the middle of the team. So, I mean, he pays what was going to be given to him. Big mistake.
Not the most cautious use of the Corki W in that case, but they do manage to go 2 for 2 across the trade either way. And this game, Rusty, we were talking about 4,000 gold leads. We were talking about 3,000 gold leads and 2,000 gold leads, and we are down now to under a 1,000 gold lead. As the Direwolves may have found Absolute, a nice binding into the fog of war. The dunk comes through too, and they shut him down.
And that is so big for them as well. Killing the Tristana, 40 seconds on the hyper carry of the side of one to be down. Direwolves look to regain some tempo, regain some momentum on Summoner's Rift, but ultimately they're against that Baroned up roster. So you'd say this just buys them time to expire the buff itself.
Exactly. When you make the play like that, when your opponents already have Baron, you're just buying time. You're making them back up, waste that timer. There's only 2 minutes left on it right now. Vert continuing to push here in the top side with that buff. He's got Marth nearby just in case Chippies decides to get cheeky and try to force the fight onto him. Marth will be there for the backup.
Yes, but so will all of the Direwolves roster as they're watching them walk around. Smart from Team 1, they'll back it up. Marth doesn't need to overexert himself. The Thornmail was also something sorely missing from Vert. He's now picked that one up. Of course, Bramble Vest is nice, but the healing reduction only lasts about a second. So trading in lane as far as you're concerned, if you're at outscale, just having a Bramble Vest. You need a full Thornmail to be able to keep up with him in any way, shape, or form. When you look at Chippy's item build, once again, comparing top laners, that's a meaningful effort towards out-sustaining and out-split pushing.
And speaking of scaling and having the damage, look at the difference between these AD carries as Direwolves grabs themselves their second Drake of the game. Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, Static Shiv, the crit multiplier, the 3-item power spike is now online for Absolute's Tristana. King, in the meantime, he's got the Rage Blade, he's got the Wit's End, he's got the Hurricane. Those items all synergize very well, but it's just not the same type of damage ceiling.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same amount of damage, but of course having that Wit's End means that Fantix will be doing just that little bit more with his magic damage crits that start to come across, and he's getting close to that 3-item point himself. So, I mean, Direwolves, they're very different power points compared to that of Team 1. You are looking at a much more, let's say, standard composition with the 3 tanks in front of the 2 carries. Front-to-back team fighting is the name of the game for the Brazilian side. Direwolves have to be a bit more creative, you would have to imagine.
Let's see how they deal with this situation now. Varus definitely attacks plenty fast once he has
really
that build,
does.
so that always feels really good, but what would feel even better is being able to win this game and punch their ticket to that knockout stage. Remember, that's what's on the line here for the Direwolves. If you win here, you don't have to play anymore. This gets you into the next stage and sends Team 1 home. For 1, if you win, you've pretty much got to have a rematch right after. Black Shield blocks away the Glacial Prison, so they don't really find the setup they were looking for right there. Team 1, despite the fact that they are down slightly in gold, they're up in kills, and they're the ones with the momentum. They're the ones that have the Direwolves scared. Look at where the wards are. So many forward wards in enemy territory from Team 1 as Direwolves just cautiously walk around, always aware of what's in every bush.
What's crazy is there's a lot of deep vision from the Direwolves to teleport towards if they want, but they've got a Fiora, so they're most likely not going to use them unless the package is there for Fantix. But you're correct, the vision from Team 1, you can see the 2 control wards yet to be cleared out. They will very shortly. Very well done. However, they're controlling the bottom side of the rift. There's no Elder, there's no Baron. You're really looking at this moment in the game. It's just a big lull. They want that next big objective to fight towards, and right now it looks like Fantix is the objective.
Fantix being collapsed on by multiple members, flash into the Glacial Fissure, and the damage from Absolute is absolutely enough to take him out. Fantix falls for the 3rd time this game. 0-3 on the mid laner for the Direwolves. Not what they need him to be doing this game. We've seen some audacious Valkyries, and we've also seen some careless positioning like you just see in the top lane there. You've got to respect where these guys can be. We just got done talking about how it's Team 1 who controls the tempo of the map. It's Team 1 putting the vision down in enemy territory, and you've always got to be mindful of where they can be.
Yeah, they have the control. They have the ability to move forwards, but right now Marth seems to be the target. They're trying to trade.
Flash blown there. Schernfire trying to go even further on that one.
The top lane's being pushed in. Really crazy decision.
The priority from Direwolves right now just seems to be in the wrong place in the completely wrong time. Absolute plenty of damage on this Tristana. They push through the tier 3. They'll push into the inhibitor itself. Direwolves trying to make their way back up here. Fantix will be alive in 3 seconds. The Wolves want to collapse. They want to punish this. They still don't have their mid laner. Schernfire trying to initiate on Divert, but that's not really the guy you want to start this off on. Nice Sejuani ulti onto King. They've already found the enemy AD carry, but they lose their Galio. Chippy's having to run himself back. Absolute still alive. Marth still alive. The damage dealers on 1 are there. Binding fired off, not finding its way onto the mark. Fantix has package ready for delivery. Wants to try to use it. Sejuani separated from the rest of the team, but that's not the target you jump on. Direwolves loses their inhib, they lose their tier 3, and they only trade 1-for-1 after. Now they're going to lose Schernfire if they're not careful. Absolute wants to go over the wall. The flash for the stun.
They're still going.
Forlan now also setting up the damage and the moves on to Destiny. A double kill for the AD carry from Team One. Direwolves, their situation is looking worse and worse as the clock moves forward. Team One now caught up in gold. Baron spawning in 3 seconds.
Yeah, Destiny dies for the sins of Schönfire, but Schönfire's positioning is ultimately why Baron also goes down. Team One, they found the momentum, and they've actually carried that momentum through. The top lane inhibitor, theirs for the taking. The picks in the jungle straight afterwards, also going to be theirs. The major objectives that follow after that. And there's very few ways you would have to say that they lose the game from here on out because they have complete control.
You have a 5.5 item Tristana that's 7, 2, and 3 with 316 farm. There's your win condition, fulfilled and shining in all its glory right in front of you. All you've got to do, Team One, is put all 3 meatballs in front of that Tristana for the rest of this game. Make it impossible for Chippies and Schönfire to get on top of that value target, and that's what they've done so far. Absolute, I was a bit critical of him earlier, saying that he seems very, very aggressive in his decision-making, but he hasn't been punished for it yet. He has been able to find the damage, and he's been doing a great job carrying.
He certainly has been, and of course, when we highlight Team One, we look at who needs to carry for these guys. How did they even get to this stage in the first place to be able to be that good, the best in the CBLOL region? Well, it was through a lot of Absolute's damage dealing. The fact that he can be a hyper carry, that he's got the Tristana there, a champion that he does enjoy playing, and suddenly he's doing extremely well on it, and then they look very good.
Also makes you wonder a little bit about the Direwolves draft with a lot of popular AD carries being up this game. Of course, there were a couple of bans towards things like Xayah, Kalista, but to take Varus in the first round of rotations is a little bit peculiar. Comfort pick or not. The binding comes out, finds its way onto Forlan. Sejuani not really a champion that's too concerned about quick bursts of damage out of combat, though.
That is so much damage to the structures, though. One more Baron wave, if they're able to get in, will be the turret.
Oh, Fantix. Losing about half his HP from a 1.5 seconds in the Miasma and 2 Twin Fangs. Binding out onto Forlan again. Again, reiterating, that doesn't really matter that much. Absolute will bust down that tier 3. Now they're looking for inhibitor number 2.
The inhibitor should go completely uncontested. The Direwolves with no capabilities to team fight. They have the team composition with the Fiora. Fiora's now locked in the base. Of course, can start to team fight as you get towards the high number of item mark. But even when you contrast that to their opponents, I feel like the Tristana can take him on at any time. And they are looking to take them on.
Glacial Prison finds its way onto the Direwolves. Chippies with a nice riposte to avoid almost all of that damage, but they still have to retreat. Bird on the front line threatening more engage. Elder Drake is live, and with Team One having just forced the enemy back by taking half of the health away from Fantix, they may look to go for this one. Marv spits the Miasma over the wall, not quite getting it all the way into that escape path for Chippies. Chippies' riposte, honestly, was beautiful when he got caught out in that initial fight. If he hadn't riposted that the way that he did, he surely would have gone down.
And now they've got Fantix in the top side of the map, so Team One can start this off. He's going to have to teleport, but they'll just kill the Corki.
All right, here we go. TP used. Fantix on the front line, knocked up into the air, has to utilize the QSS, trying to keep himself safe, trying to do the damage. Unstoppable for Absolute's Tristana. He finds a double kill onto Schönfire now as well. King gonna be taken down next. A triple for the Trist. More damage coming through. Marv grabbing the kill onto King. Absolute stays alive, and it's a clean ace for Team One.
They take them apart, and now the game will follow. So Team One Esports, they force the tiebreaker against the Direwolves. Oceania does not get the free run straight into the playoffs.
Hope stays alive for the CBLOL representatives. They will get their shot at the tiebreaker. They will have one last chance to prove they get to go to that knockout stage, to prove they belong here competing even further at Worlds 2017, and they have got to be both ecstatic and relieved at the outcome of this game.
And to show they have what it takes to compete on this stage right now, taking apart the Direwolves. Remember the last time these two teams faced each other, the Direwolves smashed them. Something